In this lecture, we're going to cover the environment gizmo. The environment gizmo is a helper tool that allows creators or yourselves to control and customize the environment of a virtual world. The environment is enabled by the sky dome feature, which you see around you. It's a dome-shaped visual that provides a simulated backdrop. The sky dome feature also has options to choose different textures, as well as allowing the customization of the environment, such as the lighting and the amount of fog. You also have voice over IP or VoIP, whatever, settings available in this environmental gizmo as well. Note, you also have the option to create a custom sky dome asset, import it, and then deploy it as a sky dome in your worlds. It creates a new instance of the environment gizmo, which is mapped to the custom sky dome asset. But again, we don't really need to concern ourselves with custom assets for this particular lecture. To access the environment gizmo, simply go to the build, go to gizmos, and as you would for any other gizmo, simply find the environment gizmo. At the moment, its icon is a sunshine with a bit of clouds, so possibly like partly cloudy. If you have multiple environmental gizmos, one of them or the prior one will become deactivated. The most recent one will become activated. As a good rule of thumb, you should only have one environmental gizmo in the world at any one point. So let me delete my previous one, and we'll go over in detail on this one. So let's be some 0.5. Zero it out on the position. Right. The properties or the attributes of the gizmo. The environment gizmo itself is an entity. Every object in the world is an entity. Among all these entities, you've got the position, rotation, and scale. It doesn't really matter where you put the environmental gizmo. You are more interested in the behaviors. So active behavior on and off simply represents if the skybox itself or the environment gizmo is on or off. Self-explanatory, really. Sky dome type by default is a cube map, and by default it is the existing sort of blue and white skybox that you see around you. However, you can also change this to a custom gradient, which is great if you're looking for a specific sort of plain color. For instance, red. There you go. So I've got a very teal if you really want this one. So custom gradients are also an option. You also have got control over the top exponent and bottom exponent, which are sort of how top heavy or bottom heavy, I guess the gradient is. So put it's top heavy. Did I still like 0.4? And this one 0.4. So you can see it's quite top heavy, and there's a high contrast between the top and the bottom. Moving on from the custom gradient, we'll jump back to the cube map. And as I mentioned before, the default texture for the cube map is daytime. But there is quite a nice selection of pre-existing textures which you can use. I'll just go for the though. For things like night and midnight black, if you're truly looking for a darker night, I would recommend also changing the exposure down, which is the amount of the brightness in the world. So you can see, bring that down. We can also do, increase the fog and make it really spooky if we want to. So something like this. A very dark atmosphere. Let me bring that back down to 1 and then 0. Take something like this. There we go. It's barely any fog. Yeah, there's also some other ones which you shouldn't use, like this flight one, but in general, yeah, quite a lot of good textures and panoramas. Custom light intensity allows you to set a custom light value, so it's set to 0. They'll be able to have sort of no lighting on the scene coming from the environment. So they went down to 1. There we go. So it's the factor 2. It'll be extra bright. So just a bit at 1. You can also specify a custom fog color. So if I say 0 this out, bring the fog all the way up to 1, we can see a very green fog or haze, I guess. Something like this will be the better. So you can also specify custom fog colors. We're showing a grid. We'll toggle this grid, and it will also toggle the collisions of the grid. So if you disable the grid itself, there will be nothing for players to land on. So do give them a platform if you plan to disable the grid. And as I mentioned before, Voice over IP settings dictate how players hear each other. The default is it's directional, I believe. So if there's a player next to you, they will be able to hear you. If they're far away, they will not. Global means no matter where they are in the world, they'll be able to hear you in play mode. Nearby is what I just described. I believe that's the default, but I may be wrong. The global might be the default. It's really poorly annotated here. Extended, whisper, and mute. I mean, they're self-explanatory. Extended distance is, I assume, sort of a lengthier, a bigger radius nearby. Whisper means you have to be really close to someone. Mute just means mute. Client smoothing is not really relevant on this environment gizmo. And that sort of effectively covers the environmental gizmo. A few notes to keep in mind: if an active environment gizmo, such as this one, is deleted or despawned by a script in build mode, it will still affect the world. When using the VR tool, if the active gizmo is deleted, deleting a gizmo will remove its effects on the world. So it will change the fog or whatever you have set the skybox. Right. That effectively covers the environment gizmo.